Hey there, fellow inventory managers. Did you ever wonder what it would be like to live in a world where you're chased by giant mechanical pigeons and everyone around you worships a giant metal door? Well, you're in luck, because if that's the case, you've probably been imagining living in the world of Horizon Zero Dawn. You're in for a real treat with this game, everybody. This game was super fun to play, so buckle up because we're going to take an extensive look at the story behind Horizon Zero Dawn before Horizon Forbidden West gets here in February. Real quick disclaimer about this video. This video series is going to contain heavy spoilers for those of you that have not played the Horizon Zero Dawn game or its expansion, The Frozen Wilds. So if you don't want to be spoiled, this is probably not going to be the video for you. Also, there is a little bit of language and violence in this video. This game is rated T for teen because of the violence and because of the small amount of language, but other than that, it's not really that bad. So if you have a young teenager that's looking for a fun game to play that doesn't really have a super gory story, this game, I would probably recommend it. It's actually really fun. This has definitely been one of the more involved games that I've played in a long time, and it is actually one of my favorite PlayStation games of all time because it was just done so well. So without further ado, let's break everything down. Let's get started with this. This video is going to probably be broken up into several pieces, but it is going to be fun to kind of look everything over and to see different clips of everything. So let's just jump right in. The game begins with the main protagonist, Aloy, who starts off as a small child in the very beginning, wearing this very fiery Hollywood bumpet. She's gathering a bunch of different berries and resources for her village, but everybody around her kind of shuns her, and everybody's just super rude to her. And we find out that it's actually because she is an outcast of her village.
She's an outcast. To be shunned.
I know they don't really say it until a couple of hours, or at least an hour into the game, but their tribe that Aloy belongs, or that she's supposed to belong to, is called the Nora, and they live in a place called the Mother's Embrace, which we will definitely get into later on in the series because there's a reason why they call it that. But she does have a father figure whose name is Rost, and he's actually one of the most wholesome characters in the game. I absolutely love Rost. I think he's just such a cool character, and it's just... The characters in this game, a lot of them are going to get to you, so just be ready for that because they're going to tug at your heartstrings a little bit. She takes her frustration out on the berries that are around her, and while doing so, she ends up stumbling into a hidden tomb that gives us the first look of the real kind of conflict of the game, where everything else above the surface is just super primal and everything is kind of not super technologically advanced or anything like that. Inside these ruins, they're very much so futuristic, very technologically advanced, and something is not right. But for now, let's just focus on little Aloy and the fact that she somehow managed to stumble upon these ruins that nobody else has seemed to stumble upon at all. The tomb is actually a bunker with strange technology and corpses, as well as technology that's a little bit more advanced than our own technology, kind of insinuating that this game takes place after our time, which I think is actually kind of a neat little touch. And as you delve a little bit further as Aloy, we actually come across a device that's implanted in the ear of a body that Aloy then plucks out and puts in her own ear. This device is actually called a focus, and it's going to prove to be a very vital piece of equipment for Aloy throughout the entirety of the game, as well as several other characters and several conflicts as the story progresses. So don't forget about that focus. She uses this focus to map her way out of the ruins, but not before we get one of quite possibly the most iconic scenes of the game.
Hi! Happy birthday, Isaac! Daddy sure does love his little big man.
Happy birthday, Isaac. Daddy sure does love his little big man. As weird as the scene is and as strange as it kind of feels with the context of the game, it does actually play a major significance to the overall story. So definitely keep it kind of in the back of your mind. But for now, all that we see is just a piece of cinematography gold. Anyway, Aloy ends up escaping the ruins and she ends up reuniting with her father figure, Rost, who is really just trying to get a hold of her so that way they can go on their own little training spree, which is super cute. And then we kind of continue on with the rest of the prologue of the game.
What is that on your face?
Nothing.
Rost is actually an outcast, just as Aloy is. He's not actually the biological father of Aloy, but he does take custody of her and kind of treats her as though she is his daughter, which becomes kind of a big point of contention for the other tribe members of the Nora. The Nora themselves are a very secluded group that live specifically in what I referred to earlier as the All-Mother's Embrace. The All-Mother's Embrace is basically an area that is supposed to be protected by an unseen deity and is governed by a group of 3 elders known as the matriarchs. I do want to point out right now that they do kind of give you a brief glimpse of the All-Mother, and the All-Mother just so happens to be a giant giant mechanical door. So, you know, praise be the door. Praise be the doorways. Anyway, the tutorial continues with Rost giving little Lindsay Lohan the hunting basics and showing us the mechanics of the game and how we are able to hunt the primary enemies in the game, which are actually mechanical animals. And I gotta say, these animals are designed really, really well. They are just absolutely incredible. The lore behind them is just fantastic. The design behind them is just beautiful, but we'll get into that a little bit more. Through this interaction between Rost and Aloy, we actually learn that Aloy doesn't have a mother, and that Rost is really the closest thing that she's actually had to a parent, and the interaction between the two is just super adorable.
Come, Aloy. Home now. But starting tomorrow, you will learn to hunt.
During the tutorial, we also see other humans from a different tribe. This kind of builds on the lore a little bit, and it gives you that sense that it's not just the Nora that exist, but there are humans everywhere, and all of them have kind of a different way of living. One of these is a young man named Teb, and he ends up falling into the field of machines. Rost advises her that he's probably as good as dead, but Aloy decides that she's going to try and save him anyways, and she's going to just completely ignore Daddy Rost, and she's going to jump right in.
I can sneak through!
And this is where we get kind of our first interaction with the machines on our own, aside from Rost trying to show us what to do. Aloy is able to map the path that the Watchers end up taking, and she's able to kind of weave in and out of them and prevent herself from being seen by them so she can get to Teb, and she leads him to safety. And then that's kind of where the story really kicks in.
Stay away, no mother!
Stop!
Children, away from there. Back to picking berries.
You're bleeding. Let me have a look. Here, hold still.
Why am I an outcast?
Aloy, this is not the time.
Who was my mother?
Aloy, I've told you before, that's not for us to know. You were just a newborn when the matriarchs brought you to me.
So the matriarchs, they know?
It's not so simple.
But they know.
Aloy, we are outcasts.
So how do I make them tell me?
The matriarchs? There is a way, perhaps.
So tell me.
It would be dangerous.
How?
It would take years of training.
I don't care. How do I do it?
The proving. The tribe's rite of passage held every year. Those who pass become braves. But to the one who wins, the matriarchs grant a boon.
A boon?
Yes, whatever the winner wants.
Then I'll do it. Whatever it takes. I'll win the proving.
I see. We'd best get started then.
We end up getting a big montage. It shows Aloy figuring out her focus and learning how to hunt better and kind of honing her skills and growing up. And it shows her kind of coming into her own. And the next that we actually see is Aloy as a young woman. And this is when everything kind of starts to get its bearings and you're really just let out into this immersive world. The Proving. An adult Aloy wakes up inside of her mountainside home a day before her coming of age trial, a hunting test that the Nora call The Proving.
Aloy, you're here.
One of the matriarchs, Tirsa, the one that actually kind of shows a little bit of a soft spot for Rost and for Aloy, allows Aloy to take part in this proving, which is kind of a huge deal because outcasts don't usually take part of it, but because she was born inside the All-Mother's embrace, Tirsa kind of gives her a little bit of leeway. This is also a huge deal because if Aloy is actually able to pass the proving, she becomes what's known as a Nora Brave, which is basically one of their scouts and their guard members, and she's actually going to be brought into the fold, and she's going to become a Nora tribe member herself and will no longer be deemed an outcast officially. The only sad thing about this is that Rost is still going to be considered an outcast.
No, I'm fine.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
She'll be able to go inside of the cities of the Nora, and she'll be able to act as though she's a Nora tribe member. Rost, however, still won't be, so he's still going to be on the outskirts, and she really won't be able to see him again, which is something that she kind of laments on, but he is kind of all for her being part of the Nora, and he wishes her the best and just wants her to grow up, and he wants what's best for her. True Daddy Rost fashion. After some final preparations and advice, Rost drops Aloy off at the Allmother's Heart, which is the home of the Nora, and they part ways.
See you back home in a few days?
You will not find me there, Aloy. Here. Take this. Remember.
Why are you talking like we'll never see each other again? No. No!
You should be with the tribe.
At first, Aloy isn't really welcomed inside of the tribe at all, and she's kind of given the same cold reaction that she's always gotten, but Tirsa soon shows up and lets her in and tells her to actually take part in the festival that they're having. That's kind of meant to just be a celebratory thing and enjoy it, and it's just a giant festival that they have to kind of unwind before the stress of the next morning. You can tell that this party, by the way, is super rockin' because there's this guy that's on top of a building and getting yelled at by his wife.
John, get down from there. Bad enough you're drunk. Why do you have to go climbing houses?
Oh, not supposed to go climbing on other people's roofs, huh?
Whatever was in his drink must have been good. This particular proving is also significant because in addition to having Aloy be part of it, they're also allowing some other tribe members from some of their rival tribes, the Karja and the Oseram, to take part in the festival, which doesn't usually happen. It's usually just the Nora. And this is actually where we meet one of the other side characters that are super important to the main story. Not only is Aloy reunited with her old friend Teb that she clearly doesn't remember, even though he eerily remembers her, even though the last time he saw her, she was like 5.
Are you the old friend Tirsa told me about? I don't know you.
She also meets Olin, a gentleman that's similar to her in the sense that they both actually have a focus.
What? A Nora? Wearing one of these?
But we'll get to more on that later. She then meets the most adorably goofy character in the game and is my favorite character of all in this entire series, aside from Aloy herself, of course. This guy is a member of the Oseram Guard named Erend, and he is just one of the most subtle characters you will ever meet.
You know what? If you ever visit Meridian, look me up. I'll show you around, make introductions. It'll be a whole new life, if you want it.
The party continues with a ceremonial blessing, and a lot of rude insults are flung Aloy's way that she kind of handles with some severe sass.
Oh, this is the bedhouse? With you standing guard, I figured it was the latrine.
You're very pregnant.
Honestly, she's my role model. The kid who threw a rock at her at the beginning of the game is there, taking part in the proving, which is, you know, thinking he's getting under her skin, when in all actuality, all he's doing is just getting served by her super hardcore. In typical Aloy fashion, she verbally eviscerates him, and then she just goes to sleep, and then morning comes, and now it's time for the proving, and it's time for Aloy to prove herself. I'm so sorry, everybody. Forgive me. The proving, which is supposed to be challenging, is of course aced by Aloy because she's the main protagonist of the game and plot armor. Not only does she end up winning and coming in first place in the proving, but she is also crowned an official Nora Brave.
An outcast? Win the proving? Never. For she is a brave now.
Which is awesome, except then it gets interrupted by these jerks. The group is ambushed by a bunch of bandits that are clad in Karja armor, but Aloy is able to drive them off at the cost of the other contestants falling to the hands of the enemies, unfortunately. She's able to briefly assess one of these soldiers before she herself is actually attacked by a soldier wielding another focus.
Turn your face to the sun, child.
Side note, this guy is also voiced by Crispin Freeman, who is one of my favorite voice actors in anime. He's the voice of Itachi Uchiha, and he's also the voice of several other characters in the Dot Hack series. Plus, he's basically got a whole rap sheet that's just well known throughout the anime fandom. Just before he's able to yeet Aloy off of a cliff, Rost shows up and is able to kind of drive this guy off, but not before being fatally wounded himself right in front of her. With his final breath, Ross pushes Aloy out of danger's way and she ends up falling unconscious, waking up the next morning. That's going to be it for this part. If you enjoyed watching it as much as I did making it, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget to click that bell icon so you can stay up to date with all of the latest MYI content as soon as it goes live. We also would love it if you leave us a comment in the comment section down below and let us know what other games you want to see us cover. And don't forget that we also go streaming live on Twitch on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We can't wait to see you soon, fellow inventory managers. Have a good one. Bye.
King of all.